Welcome to Healing Whole, the podcast. I'm your host, Callie. I'm a certified personal trainer and fitness instructor. I also happen to be extremely passionate about holistic living. With close to 10 years of experience, I've worked with clients from all walks of life. I also know a healthy and holistic lifestyle can be a little overwhelming. I'm here to break it down for you and take you on my journey to healing whole. Remember, the materials and content within this podcast are intended as general information only and are not to be considered a substitute for medical advice or treatment.
Hello, and welcome to episode 34 of Healing Whole, the podcast. I am here with Heather Pritts of Branded Elements. How are you today?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I am very good. So we're sitting in my new space,
Woo woo!
Coterie, at the Connellsville Community Center. You can come and check it out.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. If you want to get any kind of like holistic retail, we have that here. If you want to work on holistic health and transformational coaching or personal training, or we have outside practitioners coming in, we have a whole lot of stuff to offer, but just had to plug that real quick.
Yeah. I mean, do it.
Yeah. So today we're going to switch things up a little bit. Normally we talk about holistic living and different aspects of that. Today I wanted to switch it up and talk to Heather because we also talk about mental health on this podcast a lot. And both of us survive. I survive bipolar, depression, and anxiety. And Heather, you have anxiety. Do you think you have depression as well, or just anxiety?
I'm borderline. I'm here and I'm there.
Okay.
And then panic disorder.
Panic disorder. Okay.
Yep.
So
Fun.
we both also, very fun, own a business, and we're, women-owned businesses. We do it on our own with the support of our families.
Yep.
But we wanted to just kind of talk about having a mental health diagnosis and running a business at the same time and how that works. Because we're both like, I gotta stop saying the word like. We're both, I would say, perfectionists in a certain way.
Oh, yeah.
And the anxiety really, I think, being a perfectionist and having anxiety in the same time can really get your nerves going.
Yeah. It takes a toll on body, mind, soul, everything.
Yeah. So have you been professionally diagnosed with anxiety? Yes, because you take medication, right?
Yep.
When were you diagnosed?
Oh, gosh. Let's say 2008, 2009-ish.
Okay.
Somewhere around there. And we didn't do much about it until about 2013, maybe 2012.
And when did you start? So when you were diagnosed, were you diagnosed by stop saying Callie. Were you diagnosed by a doctor or by a psychiatrist or therapist?
My doctor first, my regular PCP that I've been with for, since then, since about 2007, since I've come to Fayette County area.
Okay.
He diagnosed me first because he saw it right off the bat. I didn't even know.
Okay.
So that's where that started. And, questions like, do you get like this? Do you get like that? And I just thought it was normal. Mm-hmm. And he said, okay, we're going to try these things to see if it improves your tension. I want to say I wasn't panicky then. I think it was more depression and tension then. Mm-hmm. And then it's progressed over the years, obviously, to, at some points I'm not functioning through my day at all. And it put me down.
Yeah. So how long did you survive anxiety and panic disorder until you started to make a change with it? If that makes sense. So until you started to actively try to work on it.
Right. So probably close to 5 years.
Okay. I think I started going to therapy when I was in high school, but I didn't take it seriously, and I was really embarrassed, and I would go in the back door.
Yeah, there was a bad stigma around all of that back then.
Yes.
Now not so much, which is wonderful.
Yes. So I think I was probably 5 years too, because I think the first time I went to therapy was 17, and then I think I actually started taking it seriously around 21 or 20. So maybe it was 4 years, 3 years. But I had a panic attack in the middle of New York City
Oh my goodness.
on a stoop.
Oh my goodness.
Some random person's stoop. I just had a panic attack, and I was like, I need help. I need
Yeah.
help. So I just couldn't live like that anymore. So what brought you to like finally get that help?
So I'm going to start with, I was medicated for it before I had my daughter, which she'll be 6 next week. So I'd say 3 years before I started medication, and then I was on them for a few years, and I got off of them, and everything was great, going good. I got pregnant with my daughter, and she was 2 before I had my first real panic attack. And by real, I mean like one where I ended up in the hospital. And that day, I mean, my husband was working in Maryland at the time, so he was driving almost an hour and a half, and I was at home by myself with Kylie, and I thought I was having a heart attack. And I called my ex-husband, which is Kylie's father, and asked him to take me to the hospital and take care of Kylie. The hospital didn't do much other than prescribe me some medications that ended up making me sleep for 12 hours. It was terrible. But after that day, it kept happening. So for about a month, every single day, I thought I was dying. And I was afraid to, get off the couch, get out of bed, do anything, because any little bit of movement, work, whatever, was just sending me into these debilitating panic attacks. And I couldn't understand why, because, my life was calm then, and it didn't make sense. I wasn't worried. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't any of the above. And it just, something in me was saying, no, you're going to panic every day. And it was terrible. And it got to the point where, I was allowing Kylie to stay with her dad for a week, 2 weeks at a time, because I didn't want to be alone and have something happen to where I couldn't take care of her. She was 2. She didn't know, I tried to teach her what 911 is. And, if somebody answers the phone when you dial it, don't be afraid to tell them what was going on if something happened to mommy. But at 2, I mean, that's
a lot.
She couldn't understand. She couldn't memorize her address or phone number or anything like that at the time. So that really worried me. And then I went back to my doctor, which is the same doctor that diagnosed me the first time, and said, I need to do something because I can't live like this. So I started therapy again with a counselor or a therapist, which the first time I went because of depression and some anxiety, but this time around I went strictly for anxiety and panic. And that's, here we are today.
What do you know what triggered the panic?
So I ended up having tons of blood work done. They checked every single system in my body. The only thing that could possibly be a cause was I had a severe vitamin deficiency. And then we found out that my body doesn't absorb vitamins like a normal person does. So I'm on vitamins every day, and I just have to watch how and when I take them so that I can get the best absorption possible.
Okay. So it wasn't really anything in particular that was triggering the panic attacks. It was just kind of
something
whatever.
Yeah.
It didn't really matter. I've had that before where it's not really anything. It's just, I just start panicking out of nowhere. Or like
Yeah.
I'll start getting heart palpitations out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't even know why. It just happens because I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting on the computer training or
Right.
working out with a client. I'll just start getting flutters in my chest and I don't even
Yeah.
know why it's happening.
Yeah. And that in itself opened another door for more anxiety and more panic, because it's like you feel that flutter and then you automatically go 0 to 60 like here's another panic attack. Is this going to be the one that, you know, makes me pass out and hit the floor again? Or, you know, it causes, you know, another whole round of panic.
Yeah, absolutely. So when did you start your business?
February 2nd, 2019.
Okay. How did that work? How did starting a business, all the steps leading up to starting the business with anxiety, how was that for you?
Scary,
Yeah.
terrifying. But my husband has been such a rock through this whole thing. He was the one booting me in the ass to get it going. So for years, I've always done, I'd say, let's say 2011. We'll say around then is when I started my own little side thing where I was lettering trucks and doing little decals and stuff like that. And then I was always working for a company that did that too. So it was kind of like a conflict of interest. I couldn't start a business if I was working for essentially somebody who would be my competitor. So I just kind of did it on the side, like, hey, throw $5 at me and I'll be a happy camper. It was more like a craft hobby thing. And then I was passed off from company to company to company. And the last one that I worked for was pretty awful to work for. They didn't care about employees. Their employee turnover was, oh my gosh, like even to this day, like I'm a customer of theirs for certain things. And every month or so I have a new account rep. So it's like, man, you get to know somebody and then they're gone. So I just got tired of that and the anxiety from when will I be let go, or I guess how am I going to afford, you know, to pay for my child's daycare and preschool at the time. It was just a lot. I was always working for, you know, mom and pop small businesses. So when a corporate company took me over, they bought my salary. So we found out it was locked in for a few years, which was ridiculous because we were making peanuts. And I had, at that time, more than 13 years of experience in the industry, and they're paying somebody just coming in off the street almost twice as much as I was being paid to do the same job that I had went to college for, trained for, have been doing for so many years. And my husband's like, this isn't right. You can do so much better on your own. Yes, it'll be scary, but there's no doubt that you won't be able to make it. So a bunch of things had happened in the meantime, financially to us. And it was stay in a job and pay for daycare out of pocket, like work to pay for daycare, or go and start your own business and still be able to watch your kid from home and spend time with her and have, you know, the freedom to be able to start something without worrying about essentially pissing your employer off.
Yeah.
So I did that in February, and it was still small, like decals, little things here and there. And then at the end of March, I had left completely from my job, my 40-hour-a-week job. And it's just grown from there. I mean, I've had the best quarter I've ever had this past quarter, even with COVID, which has been a blessing. We've been really blessed that Eric's able to work from home, and I'm still working, although probably illegally.
Don't tell anybody.
Yeah. But I mean, everything is internet based, so I'm not seeing people. So I don't see why I had to shut down. But yeah, I've had my best sales months the last 2 months so far.
Awesome.
And
That's
it's
awesome.
just going. And
Yeah.
I mean, now we're in spring and it's my busy season. So
Just going to get better from
it's
here.
just going to keep getting better and better.
So, do you think you had more anxiety working for someone else or working for yourself?
Ooh. So I don't know how to answer that, because I had lots of anxiety working for my last employer, but the two before that, not so much.
Okay, so it just depended on the person.
I think it depended on where I was working.
Okay.
But if we were comparing like first and second employer to owning a business, I think owning a business now has been the higher anxiety one, because now if somebody is mad, I'm not saying, hey, go talk to
So-and-so.
my boss, or, I am the boss and I am, the person that pays the bills and schedules things and I'm customer service. I'm the artist. I'm the installer. I'm
Everything.
accounts payable, accounts receivable. I am everything. I'm just a one woman show.
So, how do you cope with all that?
Honestly, I wasn't before March. I was a mess. I've learned to cope with, obviously, working out with you. That has been a game changer. A game changer. No lie. Moving my body, it doesn't just help my body. It helps. I'm not dragging ass all day. I'm not tired because I'm, sitting at a computer and then climbing on vehicles, So I think getting up in the morning and moving my body gave me, it burned off the anxiety for me, I guess, is how I would describe it. Mm-hmm. And then I was able to think clearer, and then my body kind of followed along. Like, I had all of that energy, because I know we've talked about before, like, when I work out at night, I don't sleep because I'm ready to go. So I think working out in the mornings has definitely helped. Obviously my spiritual path, which, I'm continuing.
So you're finding ways to cope now.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you say that, because you said you just had the best 2 months.
Yeah.
And
guess
you
what?
started taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah. I didn't even realize that before. Now I'm like,
Isn't that funny how that works?
Yeah.
That was the first thing I picked up. You were like, March, and I was like, oh, isn't that funny? Those are the best 2 months she's had, and it's when you invest in yourself. I don't care if it is time, money, whatever it is, but spiritually, whatever you need, I swear things happen for you then.
Yeah.
When you just take time to do self-care, it's like you tell the universe that you are worth it, and in turn, it delivers back to you.
Yeah. And, I had a lot of anxiety, like even more recently about, I'm working out at 9:30 and I'm not getting my day really started until sometimes after lunchtime, and I'm working until 11, but it all works out. It falls into place. Nobody is like, I have people messaging me at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning saying, where's my proof? And I'm like, oh, I'll get it to you later today. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. well, I'll talk to you later. And I'm just like, when that text comes and I'm like, I have this to do before I even like sit down and start their work. But I think I cause more panic in myself about it. But then like, I sit down, I work out, I forget about all of it. And then things flow. When I take care of myself, things flow. And it doesn't matter, obviously I don't want to be working until 11 p.m. every night. But if it's working, it's working.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think I don't like to use the word balance, but it's a balance of, it's hard running your own business because you can work, especially when it's from home.
Yeah.
Like when I was at home because of COVID, I was waking up, working, eating, working, going to sleep, waking up and doing it all over again. So I wasn't taking any time away. So it's harder. So I would say it's a balance of it, but I think everyone just will figure it out. You just have to figure it out on your own.
Yeah. And what works.
Yeah. What works for you.
Yep.
So, but definitely like the whole self-care thing. So exercise and movement helps anxiety immensely.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I was still having panic attacks regularly up until I started training with you March 5th. And now I actually just talked to my therapist Tuesday, and we do every 2 weeks. And every 2 weeks she asks, how many panic attacks have you had? And she had pointed out that the last 3 sessions, so 6 weeks, I have had 2 total panic attacks.
That's awesome.
I was going, like, I remember one time, I was on a heart monitor because we thought maybe it was something with my heart because my palpitations were off the chart. So we got me hooked up to a 48-hour heart monitor, and I had recorded that I had 13 panic attacks in 48 hours.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
and
not a way to live. That's
to go
so
6 weeks and have 2.
It's awesome.
Game changer. Like I said before, it's completely changed my life. I mean, I'm so thankful for you. Like I almost want to cry right now. Like I'm super thankful for you. Like that you've helped provide additional tools that to date have worked better than anything else.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my doctor not too long ago, and he said, if you keep this up, I don't think you're going to have to be on medication the rest of your life like we thought may happen. Mm-hmm. So, I don't dislike medication. I think there's a time and a place for it. I think everybody, not everybody, but I think there are a lot of people that could benefit from it. Mm-hmm. And just knowing like what works for you. I mean, we went through 9 medications before we found one that worked for me. So that was a rough road, but I never liked it and I didn't ever want to be on it. But now I see the value in it, and now I can see an end in sight.
Which is awesome. Yeah. So you talked a little bit about your spirituality. So you live, I didn't ask you at the beginning, which I normally always ask, how did you get into this holistic way of living? And maybe I should have asked, because you do you do have a holistic lifestyle. Like you work out, you watch nutrition, you work on your mind, body, soul, all that. And that's what holistic living is. It's looking at the body as a whole.
Yeah.
But shoot, what was I going to say? I just totally lost my train of thought because the car drove past and it distracted me. Give me 2 seconds. I'll think of it. Oh, the medication. So was it hard for you to get on medication because you do live a more holistic life? Because I know for me, it's very hard for me to be on it's not so much now at first. It was very hard for me to be on medication and live this holistic life.
Yes.
I felt like a fraud.
Yes. So I know specifically because a lot of things happened in October for me when we bought our new house, and things were falling apart with it, which we kind of, I mean, it sat empty for 3.5 years. So we knew we were going to have issues, but I didn't think we would have the extent of issues that we had. And some of the things that happened, even to this day, like I still hear certain sounds and I'm like, please say that's not blah, blah, blah happening again. So I will say from October until February, I resisted medication completely because I had just gotten off of medication the year before in August, and I was so happy and so proud to not have to deal with medication and feeling like crap and, you know, just all the side effects from it. You know, had I known what I know now about medication is that, you know, that didn't work for me. And that's why I felt like crap all the time. But I just thought, hey, this is normal. It's a side effect because you're on something. So yeah, I definitely resisted it from October till February. And then I think I had somewhat of a mental breakdown and I called my doctor crying and I was like, I can't do it anymore. We need to start looking at medications again. And we tried one other one, which was my 9th medication, and it has been working for me since.
What is it?
Lexapro. And
I had Lexapro for a while.
With, and then when I have panic attacks that are bad enough, I do have Valium to take as needed.
And what got you over that, like, fraudulent feeling?
When you feel as bad as I was feeling, that was doing more harm than what a medication could be doing. And I think it took me a while to realize that, yes, it's a chemical, but yes, it's also going to help you.
And there's nothing wrong with doing both aspects. There's nothing wrong with doing Eastern and Western medicine at the same time.
Right.
If that makes sense.
And I think you helped me realize that as well. Like early on in our relationship, when I started following you, your openness to mental health, like, honestly made me realize that I shouldn't be ashamed of who I am and what I've become because, look, I own a business. I can still mother. I can still wife. I can still do everything that I put my mind to. Had it not been for medication, I wouldn't be here. I probably would not be here. And if I was here, I wouldn't be a person. I would be
a shell.
Yeah, I would be a shell. I wouldn't be happy. I would be terrified of the world. I wouldn't be open to meeting new people or, you know, in my business, taking on orders from people or advertising that, hey, I do these kind of things, because I always had that fear of, well, this is a new person. What if they don't like me and they, you know, don't like what I'm producing, or they just don't like me as a person, or they badmouth me, or this or that, or this or that.
Just, you know, any scenario you can make up in your head.
Yep. So between, you know, my holistic lifestyle, Western medicine, working out, moving my body, everything just kind of works together.
It takes a lot of work though, so I want to emphasize that it takes a ton of work. It took me over a year to really, and I'm still in the healing process, but it took me over a year to really begin to heal and feel good about myself every single day, and to find joy in every single day, which was always a goal of mine.
Yeah.
But was to find joy in every single day. And it took a long time to get to that point, but it takes work, but it's so worth the work.
It is.
It is so worth the work.
Yeah. It could take years. I mean, I'm on years now where I I just kept sweeping it under the rug. Like, hey, this is normal. This is what happens when you have anxiety. And, you know, you don't talk about it. You just deal with it and you move and go about your day. But that is not the way to live.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No.
So, yeah. So I just want to emphasize that to you guys. Like, you can do absolutely anything that you set your mind to.
Oh, yeah.
As long as you just do the work. You just have to do the work. And I'm talking about the healing work.
Yeah.
Like, if you want your business to succeed and to do well and to have the best quarters that you've ever had, because I'm also the same way. I've had the best, these last 5 months have been the best of my business. And I've been in and out of this business for 10 years.
Yeah.
So, you just have to do the work. You have to do the healing work. You have to look inside and really just take the time and the steps to do the self-care and to do the work, because it's so freaking worth it. It's so worth it.
Well, and I was always afraid. Like, I've never worked out a day in my life. I couldn't do a sit-up the day we started, or I couldn't do a crunch right the day we started, and now I could probably do 30 in a row, and I'm like, let's go. Let's do it. Come on. 90 this class? Sure. No problem. So, yeah, it takes work. You might not see progress immediately. I know we were just talking about that a little bit earlier today. But it doesn't mean you stop putting the work in. And if you have a bad review, or, you know, somebody that just wasn't happy. I know I get people that will message me at 2:00 in the morning and expect a quote like right then and there, and you message them back at 7:30, 8:00, and they're like, oh, we found somebody else because you didn't respond. Like, that's nothing. Let them go. Those aren't the people that you want to have.
Exactly. And when you do start taking care of yourself, I think that's important to emphasize. When you do start taking care of yourself and you start doing the healing work, you attract the people that you want in your life.
Yes.
Not the neediness, like, oh, I need a client, I need a client, I need a client. You attract people, and you attract the right kinds of people.
Well, and you also begin to realize who is worth your time and energy. I think that was another big thing. Like, I was afraid to disappoint anybody. And that day that person had messaged me and was, I guess, pissy with me that I didn't respond at 2:00 in the morning, that just made me think, like, why am I getting so bent out of shape over this? Do I really want those kind of people supporting my business? No, it's not worth the energy to be unhappy doing what you love to do.
Yeah.
And the moment you stop, the moment it becomes work is when you don't love what you're doing.
100%. 100%.
And you can't love what you're doing if you're not loving yourself, if that makes sense. Like,
it does.
Like, you have to love yourself, and then anything you're doing through the day just becomes love and joy, and it's not work when it's like that. The flow. It's
absolutely. So, yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks.
So happy for you.
I've been a big ball of sunshine. It's
shining
for months
the
now.
Sun's shining today. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, finally get some more warmth here.
So is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
Not that I know of right now.
Okay.
I think we covered. Well, one, is it hard to run a business with anxiety? Yes. But is it possible? Very yes.
Yes.
When you're doing the work.
100%. So that's our moral of the story today. Do the work.
Do the work.
So one thing I do want to ask you is, if people are interested, where can they find you online and on Facebook and all that stuff? Because
Facebook, online. I'm on Google now.
oh, are you?
Yes.
Oh, I'm getting on Google too.
I've been on Google for a couple months now. I just haven't really taken the time to update the listing.
Yeah.
But I am there. You can search my website, brandedelementsllc.com, Facebook Branded Elements LLC. Yeah.
Awesome.
my
And she
stuff's
does
on there.
everything.
I
if you
do.
need anything printed, she does everything.
Yeah, except hand puppets. I did get asked for a great cause, but I don't do hand puppets.
Aww. Well, darn it. That's what I wanted next.
Man.
All right. Awesome. So thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. Thanks for
today.
having me.
Yeah. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Healing Whole the podcast. If you like this episode, please leave a review. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and give it a like and maybe subscribe to the channel. And if you're interested, you can check me out on Facebook. Everything's at Callie Tony CPT. So you can check out my website, my Instagram, or my Facebook and stay up to date on all things happening Healing Whole. So I will see you guys next time. I hope you have a great day.